in this video, we'll be looking at the difference between the individual application form, which was in the previous video, and the joint application form and the corporate application forms. So for the corporate application forms, you'll see that the forms are actually the same. Most of the things that we discussed under the individual forms applies here. It's just that now you are providing know your client information for a company compared to an individual. And then with companies, and again we'll see with the joint application, the joint application form, now you have either directors or authorized signatories, and you can choose how you set it up, your controls. All of you guys going to sign, either to sign, any to sign, it's up to you. Then you'd have the details of the signatories, and this is important to know that even things like the photo would include for all the signatories. So all these details per signatories, and attach the documents themselves, and these documents need to be certified either by someone in Sanlam or a financial advisor who they have performed background checks on and allowed to certify documents, such as in my case. You'd have your source of funds. This remains the same as in the individual application form. You have your customer bank details, and then this would be the bank details of the customer or the elected bank for in the case of the joint account. I think under investment details, this remains the same, just to re-emphasize the message that you need to automate your investment decisions. Don't rely on your willpower or your discipline to let the power of compounding increase your wealth. I see something different in these form in regard to regular top-ups, which you need to indicate. Then this section of the bank account details reminds me that in the other video I didn't discuss why I personally invest with Sanlam, and the reason for this is, number one, in my experience, I don't remember a day that I requested for withdrawal of funds and didn't get them within a day. And maybe it's because I bank with Stanbic, but this is something that cuts across all the people that I know who have a money market fund with Sanlam. They are very quick in terms of depositing withdrawal funds. The second thing I love about them is the fees. So the fees, they have the lowest fees in the industry at 1.2%, whereas the average in the industry is 2%. And this is important because, as we'll see in the lesson plan, in the blog posts, fees do have a major impact in how quickly you compound your returns. Then finally, for Sanlam, as we go through the checklists, so there we can see there is nothing different. All that seems the same. KYC documents, as I say, this is important. These have to be attached, and as you can see now, this is different. It's for all the signatories, and you need the evidence of transfer of the funds, otherwise they won't open the fund account until you've deposited the initial investment. And as I mentioned, accredited advisor can certify the documents, or you can go to a lawyer to certify that they're a true copy of the original. So looking at that, nothing much to be added there. I think we've covered the nature of joint applications. These are things that can be used, for example, with chamas or a couple that is saving for the education of their kid. They would use this form. Nothing peculiar there. So as we discussed this, the final thing that I love about Sanlam is the great customer service. So unlike most companies in Kenya, there's like zero waiting time to get through the customer service line, which is impressive. The other thing is they give monthly statements on the 5th of every month, and these would show the amounts that you've invested and the returns for that month. They will also send weekly intelligence reports. These include statistics in regard to how fixed income instruments are performing, such as the treasury bills and the fixed deposits, and this will help you as an investor have an expectation of what kind of return you expect from them and other players in the market. As I mentioned, if somebody is giving you a return higher than the treasury bond, 364 treasury bond, you need to understand that then you might be taking up more risk. And again, they might quote a higher return, but then they have not, that's a gross return compared to somebody who's showing the return net of their management fees. So these are things that you need to watch out for. So that's a nice feature for Sanlam. When I look at this form, I cannot see. Maybe for beneficiaries here, you'd have to include beneficiaries for each of the joint applicants. That seems okay. When I come to the risk assessment form, this is a nifty form that I highly recommend that you fill, because it takes you through a couple of questions, and at the end of the questions you'll be able to understand your risk profile, and this is something that you can use in your future investment decisions. But for now, we are only interested in the money market fund because we are interested in preserving our capital and having the liquidity of accessing our funds when we need them. So we would indicate here that we understand our risk level, and we put the same amount we put as the initial amount for investing here, and sign. Then there's this form called the residential address inquiry form, and this form is for people who don't have the utility bill, that is the electricity or water bill, and they would have to fill this form then to show that they are genuine people who live in Kenya, and you'd need the land registration number from your landlord, the estate name, the house number, road, and town area, and then you'd have to have this signed by yourself and then certified by a financial advisor. If you contact me via email, I can help you with this. So, and I think that covers the other forms that were to be uploaded. Okay, bye.